In today's lesson, we are going to paint another watercolor cactus. Did you know that many cacti produce bright, beautiful flowers? This lesson involves drawing and painting. So you will need a pencil and eraser, watercolor brushes. I would recommend small to medium-sized brushes, a watercolor palette, a piece of paper towel, a cup of water, and either watercolor paper or thick construction paper. Just like in our last lesson, we are going to begin by drawing the pot which the cactus grows out of. So as you can see, I started with a sideways oval, and the next step is to just draw the sides of the pot, which are two diagonal lines that go down, and we connect them with a curved line. So this cactus is made up of different parts, and each part is shaped a little bit differently. So we're going to start with the base of the cactus, which is sort of a wide oval shape, and it's not perfect. It has some grooves and indents just like in real life, and it comes down just like that. Now coming out of this base shape is a longer, taller oval that's wider at the top, and it gets narrower towards the bottom. We're going to start to add in some other shapes that sort of protrude out the sides. The little one on top, and we're going to add a couple up here as well. Just like that. All right, and I added one more little shape over here on the left side. So the next step is to start adding the beautiful cactus flowers. So we're going to add one up here, just kind of on the side. Drawing in a few petals. We're going to add one down here. We are going to add one up here. And another one over here. So we have 4 beautiful cactus flowers. I erased this line here, and now we are ready to paint. So I have my watercolors, I have my cup with some water and 3 small brushes, and I'm going to begin by painting the pot. Today we're going to add a design to our pot, but first you want to choose a solid color to paint it with. Now remember, when you're painting your pot, you want it to look three-dimensional. So since I chose the color blue, I'm starting on my left side, and as I get closer to the center, I'm going to dip my brush in water, blot it just a little bit on my paper towel, and I'm going to start to blend so that as I move towards the right-hand side, the color gets lighter, and this is going to create a three-dimensional effect. I'm going to wait a few minutes for my pot to dry before I add in a design. So while I'm waiting, I'm going to dip my brush in my medium green, and I'm going to do a color wash over my entire cactus. But today I'm going to be careful not to paint over my flowers. So I'm going over my cactus, and when I get to the flowers, I'm just going to carefully paint around them. I'm going to try not to get any green paint on the flowers. Adding a little bit of water when my brush gets dry, and again, you want to try and keep your green a little bit darker towards the left. So as you get closer to the right, just use a little bit of water on your brush to spread that paint out, and it will gradually get lighter on the right. So for my pot, I decided to add in stripes for my design. So I simply took a brush with a really fine tip, dipped my brush in some purple, and followed the shape of the pot as I added in my horizontal lines. And now, using that same brush, I'm just going to go over my pencil lines, and this will help the pot to really just pop out. All right, so my pot is all done, and now I'm going to take my same fine tipped brush and dip it in a darker shade of green. And I'm going to outline my cactus with this dark green. And this is just gonna help the cactus to kind of pop out. And then from there, we're gonna start to add in darker green tones that will make it look more three-dimensional. Now that my cactus is outlined, I'm gonna come over here to my left side, which is my darker side, and using my small brush, I'm just gonna start to add in dark green. Now remember, a really helpful tool for blending your colors is using a little bit of water. So once I get my dark green into that left side, I'm gonna dip my brush in my water. I'm gonna come back over here to the middle, and I'm just gonna blend this dark green into the medium green that we painted before. And this is gonna help it to look much more natural. I'm gonna do the same thing up here on this longer part of the cactus, carefully painting around the flowers and adding in my dark green. Once I have my dark green on the left side, again, I'm just gonna dip my brush in my water, blot it a little bit on a paper towel if you need, and then just blend. Making sure that your darkest green is on the left, your medium green is in the middle, and your lightest green should be on the right. So I also painted in the arms with the darker green tones on the left side of each arm. And now my entire cactus is starting to look more 3D and more realistic. So now it's time to rinse my brush and paint my cactus flowers. I decided to paint my cactus flowers a bright red, but the color you choose is really up to you. I would recommend waiting at least 4 to 5 minutes for the green of your cactus to fully dry, or at least mostly dry, before you paint your cactus flowers. Otherwise, the color you choose for your cactus flowers will start to run and bleed into the green paint if it's still wet. The final step is to paint the spikes that come out of the cactus, and this is going to make it look super realistic. So I have my really fine-tipped, small, thin brush, and I'm dipping it in my dark green. I don't want to use much water on my brush. I have barely any water on this brush, mostly just paint, because otherwise I won't get those really fine spikes that I want. So now I'm going to start to paint the spikes. They should be pretty thin, and they come out of the cactus. You can add a few on this side. If your brush starts to get dry, you can add a tiny bit of water, but you just don't want too much. So I'm just going slowly and carefully, and I'm just adding in the spikes all over the cactus. A few smaller ones, some that are a little bit longer, just to have a variety. And I want to get a nice fine tip, like a point at the end, because they are kind of sharp in real life. And there you have it, your very own cactus with bright, beautiful flowers. I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I can't wait to see your cacti.